Hey there everyone, this is Dylan Hennessy here for the Music Mentor Production blog. I'm here with Emily Mack. We're going to be talking to her about her musical career, her new single for California this winter. Hello, Emily.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Let's just start right at the beginning of things, and why don't you go ahead and tell us how you got into music in the first place?
I feel like I was born singing. Like, I've always just really loved to do it. And when I was like a little kid, I used to put on my parents' records and dance around the living room and sing. So I've been practicing for a long time. But when I first got started professionally was I sang in this talent show on an island in northern Ontario. So it was like pretty random. And this guy came up to me afterwards and it was like, I want to have you sing in my band. So that's how the whole thing got started.
You did go to the Atlantic Acting School. It was in New York City, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. Like, I always think it's cool that people can take one aspect of art and transfer it to another one. You see that like dance is so applicable to music, it's so applicable to acting, it's so applicable to any other kind of art form you can imagine. I would even say like maybe cooking or something like that. Like anything that can express is transferable through like other arts. So what was it like going from acting to going into music, and do you find like a correlation between the two when you're on stage?
I totally do. It actually seemed like a pretty natural transition for me. And like, for me at least, the live show is really performance. And so instead of having a scene partner in like a play, the audience is my scene partner. So I love like looking at them, looking them in the eyes and just interacting with them. And I love performing, love being on the stage.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Is that your favorite part of it, or are you more the live performer? Yeah, you are. Okay. So songwriting kind of came a little bit later for you then, I guess?
I've always like kind of been dabbling with writing songs like for years, but I really only got serious about the craft of songwriting a few years ago and really took some time off from performing to study the craft and really like hone my skills. Okay,
so speaking of which, let's talk about California this winter. Obviously the music video just came out not long ago, and it's a debut single, so congrats on that.
Thank you.
It's a great accomplishment, and it's a great song. I've listened to it a whole bunch of times.
Thank you.
I was just wondering if you could take us through what the process was of writing that, why you decided to write about that specifically, and what it was like writing that song.
Well, the idea for the song came to me like on a really gray, cold October day, and I was feeling kind of down because the weather sucks, so I went out to get a coffee. I'm like, okay, maybe this will make me feel better, and it didn't. Just going outside, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's already so cold, and it's not even winter yet. So after I got back home, I sat down and the song just kind of came pouring out of me, and it was the first verse for California this winter. And then as the winter kind of continued, every time there was a snowstorm or an ice storm, I would get inspired. So I'd like run downstairs, get in front of the piano and start writing, and that's how the song started and grew. In California this winter,
there's like a bunch of different sounds that I was hearing. Particularly when I heard it for the first time, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like Hey Jude and like the Beatles a little bit. But then there's like elements of soul in it, and even in the bridge there was some reggae, which was like kind of threw me for a bit of a loop. And it seems like there's a lot of different influences going on. Obviously, you were talking about how when you were getting into it, that there's a lot of oldies influence and blues and R&B and things like that. I'm just wondering if you can tell us any more specific examples of influences of yours.
Well, I know like when I was writing the song, for whatever reason, in my head, like I was hearing like the bands. And I know they have a lot of different influences in their sound, right? Like it's soulful, sometimes you can even hear reggae, you can hear rock and roll in it. So for whatever reason they inspired this song, but I'm inspired by all different genres of music, and I kind of like mixing them together and making something that's totally my own.
Yeah, that's it's a good thing to be doing. Is like, I always think if someone is making music that is hard for them to describe, you're probably doing something right. So
okay.
in that case, yeah, it's awesome. Obviously, coming off California this winter, you have other singles coming out. We're just wondering what we could expect in future releases from you and what kinds of sounds you might be bringing to the table next.
I'm definitely moving to more of an R&B, like classic soul sound with my music. Part of the fun thing I've found with writing my own songs and going out there and singing like original songs for people, I've become more aware of what my genre is. So yeah, right now I'm like working on recording the EP and still writing some songs. I'm not exactly sure what all of my songs will end up on the EP, but there's definitely going to be some songs in there that have to do about music and my love of music.
So speaking of your love of music, it seems like you have this big affinity for soul music and R&B.
Yeah.
It's not as common of a genre these days as so many others are, and I was wondering what drew you to that sound, because obviously soul is like, it's in the name, it's a very impactful genre, and we're just wondering, like, it takes a lot from a person to really go down that route, I think. What brought you to want to do that kind of music?
Well, I feel like with like soul music or like blues music, that kind of thing, it's like a feel thing. So
definitely.
I kind of feel like you either have it in you or you don't, and for me it just, when I listen to that kind of music, it just really resonates deeply inside of me.
It's kind of new.
I'm like, oh yeah, this stuff's good. And I grew up listening to lots of Motown, like Aretha Franklin, The Temptations, Otis Redding, so that had a really strong impact on me.
Nice.
Yeah.
In these Music Matter blogs, we kind of like to try and give advice to people who might be listening and things like that. I was wondering what you could say to people who are getting into songwriting, just as far as like how to go about the process, and maybe for people that are trying to get into the business, like how they can start to pursue that as well.
Well, I would say, you know, go out to songwriters' nights, find like-minded people, because you'll learn a lot from them, and you'll like get a nice network of fellow musicians, people in the industry, and it'll help build your confidence. And then the other thing is just to put yourself out there and try not to be too much of a crazy perfectionist about it. Like, that's one of the things I've discovered about myself that I didn't, like, I always thought of perfectionists as people who like color coordinated their closet, which I will never be. But you know, sometimes when you're working on your own art and it means so much to you, you're just like, oh, it has to be perfect, and you kind of like overdo it. So having awesome people I work with who I can like throw ideas off of and get their advice really has helped me figure out what my sound is and grow as an artist. So I would just say, you know, get out there, meet some fellow musicians, and just put yourself out there and you'll learn a lot.
Just like network, try and build a team, try not to be a perfectionist.
Yeah, because everyone has to start somewhere. That's the thing. Is sometimes we want to like, we want success so bad that we want to be perfect from the beginning. And even if I know, like from going to these songwriters nights, I see people, it's their first time there and they're so nervous. And I remember how I felt the first time I went. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you become, and the better your songs get. Yeah,
definitely. It's also kind of funny, like, I think about, it's almost like the more that I've gotten into music and the more that I know about it, the more I feel like there is to know, and like I don't even know anything at all, you know what I mean?
Have a beginner's mind, like a zen mind. And that's not a bad thing, I think.
No, definitely not.
Too much in like this society, like we're taught that we have to like know everything, and we should just be perfect and all that. And I think actually, even if you know a lot about music, having a beginner's mind is how you keep it new, how you keep it fresh and in the moment. It's a very important thing.
It's like keep things interesting.
All
right, really quick before we get on out of here. So Emily Mack's single for California this winter. We'll leave a link to the music video in the description so you guys can check that out. Can you tell us some more places that we can find some of your music?
Yeah, on my website, emilymacmusic.com, and I actually have 5 free like acoustic songs I recorded last spring on my website with Scott Metcalf on the piano. It's like this amazing piano player, and they're like, you know, kind of raw live music feel, and you can get them for free on my website when you join my insiders list. So there's some goodies there too, and I'm going to be doing some live shows over the next few months as well. So I got to find out about all that.
Got any links to Facebook, Twitter, social media stuff?
All of that is on my website, so like that's kind of like the hub that has everything.
Alright, so emilymacmusic.com. Make sure you guys go check that out. Check out the music video for California this winter, and thank you so much for coming on the Music Mentor blog.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.